Neal Conan, who spent 36 years with National Public Radio and 11 years as the host of the network's Talk of the Nation, died Tuesday in Hawaii of glioblastoma at the age of 71. I met Neal almost 50 years ago, at a small, hopeless FM radio station in New York City, WRVR. Neal spent much of what would have been his college years, if he'd attended, working at New York's Pacifica noncommercial radio station, WBAI, where he took his first radio job as an engineer. When I first knew him, while we hosted a WRVR news program together, he used to wear a railroad engineer's cap. "They don't make announcers' caps," he'd explain. The Neal I knew was funny, smart and 100% radio, with an incurable curiosity and the silvery voice of an Irish tenor. Last year, a few of us NPR old-timers gathered on Zoom and took turns explaining what had hooked us on radio. Neal didn't invoke the great broadcast news oracles of our youth. He was a high school senior, spending a lot of time at the office of his physician father who, Neal recounted, had an FM radio so he could play easy listening music to drown out the screams of his patients. But it was on that radio that he heard something different: WBAI, a public radio station in the middle of a fundraising drive. People didn't talk like people on the radio, he recalled in a 2007 interview with Public Radio Arizona's Wavelength magazine. I stumbled across this unbelievable conversation where people were telling really bad jokes and were laughing. You heard women's voices, very unusual in those days. You heard Midwestern and Brooklyn accents, people with passion who cared about what they were doing and wanted to involve me. He went to work there soon after. And in 1977, he joined NPR, where he held an astonishing variety of jobs. He was, at various times, the line producer and executive producer of All Things Considered. In 1987, he ran NPR's coverage for a year as news director. As a reporter and host, he covered confirmation hearings of Supreme Court nominees, 2 Olympic Games, President Bill Clinton's impeachment and presidential debates. Abroad, he won a handful of awards for his coverage of wars in the Middle East and conflict in Northern Ireland. In the final days of the Gulf War in 1991, while reporting from southern Iraq in the U.S. battle to liberate Kuwait, he was captured by the Iraqi Republican Guard and held hostage for a week, along with New York Times reporter Chris Hedges. Among Neal's passions were military history, comic books and, perhaps, above all, baseball. Especially the New York Yankees. His love of the game was such that he took a sabbatical in 2000 to live out his dream, but took radio with him, working as a minor league baseball announcer for the Maryland team Aberdeen Arsenal. It didn't produce a dream career, but it did produce his book, Play-by-Play, Baseball, Radio and Life in the Last Chance League. Neal lived radio at work and at home.